If you ride a motorcycle, you need an air pump. Let's talk about it. There's two major reasons I carry an air pump on my bike all the time. No matter if it's a short trip, a long trip, commute to work, or I'm going away for a couple of days. My first reason is that I like to get off-road as much as I can, and airing down your tires is one of the best sources of traction. I'm on about a 600-pound GSA, and airing them down roughly to about 15-20 psi really makes a difference on gravel, washboard, dirt, really anything that I lose traction on. I'm typically running a 50-50, more of a street tire, and that's when I can tell the difference. It also helps me from getting punctures, whether it's from sharp rocks or branches along the trail, as when you air your tires down, well, they get softer. Everyone can relate to my second reason I always carry an air pump, and that's just simply getting something in my tires. As motorcyclists, we have two tires, and once one becomes flat, you're done. You gotta pull over, and then the waiting game begins. Tow trucks can take several hours to show up. Who knows what time it is, where you are, if you can get into a shop somewhere to get the tire replaced. In my opinion, you're better off carrying an air pump and some kind of plugs. Now, looking at a typical plug kit, this is what I carry on my bike, and maybe I'll make another video, how to put this in. I actually just got new tires, so hopefully I don't need these anytime soon, but hey, you never know. As a matter of fact, 2 days after this showed up in the mail, I was on my way to work, which is 5:30 in the morning, and wouldn't you know, I started getting the alarm displayed on the motorcycle's instrument panel. Now, I gotta tell you, this is the first bike I've owned. It's a 2019 BMW 1250 GSA, but it's the first bike I own that has tire pressure monitors, and I love them. I cannot believe I've been riding since high school without them. Now, obvious, you know when you get a flat tire because it just gets all squirrely and you can feel it, typically. But what you don't know is if you have a small leak. And I've had a few small leaks, which is no big deal because I can glance down and take a look at the pressure. So, I don't know, maybe you're not aware, maybe you want to check out some of the aftermarket stuff for tire pressure monitoring systems. But anyway, back to the morning, I was headed to work. I went from about 42 PSI in the rear all the way down to 13 PSI in a matter of 30 seconds. Instrument cluster came up full red opposed to an amber when you're just a little low. And luckily, I was just about at the off-ramp. I was going highway speeds. It's California, so take a guess what my speed was. But I got off just in the nick of time. Pulled over, got the bike up on the center stand, had my plug kit, had this air pump, and I was done in 15 minutes. Now, mind you, this isn't my first time I've ever plugged a tire, and what I would recommend is to try to practice. Maybe you got a tire laying around at home, or maybe the next time you get something in your tire, could be your car tire, is try to do it at home with the tools you would carry on the bike. Don't dig into your fancy toolbox. I always like working on my bike out of my tool bag. When I first started riding, I was on more of a sport bike, and then I went to a cruiser. And during those times, I would carry the little CO2 cartridges for any kind of flat tire repairs. For the most part, that worked out pretty good because you only need, a couple bottles, maybe 4 or 5 to carry. And, you can buy a kit from wherever. But when I started to off-road and get more into adventure riding, what I noticed is I'd constantly be going through these CO2 bottles, and then I wouldn't have any if I got a flat. So I knew I needed a pump. And naturally, when you are trying to buy everything all at once, it's near impossible. So my first pump I bought was the slime pump. I'm sure you've seen that around. There are several different variations. They're getting a little bit better as far as quality and how big they are. but they don't come with a connector that connects right into the bike plug most of us have, and they don't go higher than like 35, 40 PSI. Not to mention, I've definitely broken a few of these. I think they're 20, 30 bucks. So in my opinion, relatively cheap, but will get you out of a pinch. I recently got the Garmin Zumo XT, and doing research on what kind of mounts are out there, I came across the MotoPumps website. Now, at first, I thought it was a strange name for a company that's selling GPS mounts, but that's when I quickly found out how they got started, all the way back in 2005, building and selling these air pumps out of upstate New York. Using the mount now for a little bit, I really appreciate the attention to detail and the engineering they put in making it. So I knew right away that their air pumps are probably darn good. So let's take a look at what you get with the AirShot 2 pump. When it shows up, it'll look just like this. Comes with a very handy carrying bag that you can also put your tire plug kit right inside. Inside, you'll find a bunch of goodies. First off, you'll see the air pump itself. This is roughly about a pound in weight. Comes with a little bit of a parachute cord, which is nice because it hangs right off of the passenger foot peg when filling up the rear. And up front, well, I haven't filled my front tire in a little bit. I either put it on the ground or find somewhere else to hang it. You also see that it comes all assembled, ready to use with an 18-inch air hose and a very nice locking chuck. There's a few different options on their website, so check that out. But I like the straight locking chuck because the GS has 90-degree valve stem. So maybe if your valve stem are straight up, you would want this then 90 degrees, just to, make it a little bit simpler. And it also comes with 6 foot of cord. It has a nice switch on the bottom to turn it on and off. And you'll notice this cord is an SAE connector. This is the same connector that I'm guessing most of you have on your bike already for trickle charging. But if you don't, they got you covered. So in the kit, they will get you this SAE trickle charger connection where you have 2 ring terminals you would put on your battery, inline fuse, and the plug itself with a nice little dust cap. So pretty typical, you've seen that before. Also in the bag, it'll come with an SAE connector again and 2 clamps. These clamps most likely are used for going right to the battery. Maybe you're going to use a car, maybe you're going to use another kind of 12-volt power source. So that would be from the power source, and then you're plugging the pump into this. It also comes with a connector that can plug into a cigarette lighter. This would then give you power to the pump. And I wasn't sure what I was looking at first, but after further investigating, I noticed that there's more to this standard cigarette lighter plug. And that is, if you kind of give it a pinch and a twist and a pull up, you then have a DIN connector. A DIN connector is found on a lot of European bikes, like my BMW has one. So I thought that was a really cool option. If, let's say, your SAE connector is not there, maybe there's a problem with it, you can have several other options to get power to this pump. So I haven't had this pump for a lot of time, and I can't really speak to the longevity and how it will put up with the use and abuse. But what I will say is this thing cranks out some pressure and fast. I looked up the specs and it pulls about 7.5 amps. And what you're gonna wanna make sure you do is keep the bike running when you use this, or you could have a dead battery and then a whole nother problem on your hands. So as I mentioned, right after I got this, I did get to use it, just going to work and getting a flat tire. And I noticed how quick this seemed to work compared to some of those slimes. And I was very impressed with the pressure it got up to. Now, I'm not sure what the total pressure it can put out, but I did want to add into this video a bit of a time trial to see how fast will it inflate my GS tire. And just so you're familiar, my rear GS tire is a 170/60 on 17-inch rims. So it's not huge, but it's not small. So setting this up in the garage, I went ahead and turned this on at the same time starting the stopwatch. Then I will fast forward it so you don't have to wait, but I came up with about 3 minutes and 18 seconds, and that was from around 5 or so PSI, bringing me all the way up to 42. I was also curious about the temperature. I know air compressors can get warm, shooting the pump as it was on, and it was really only about 85 degrees. I'll put some info below and the links to their website so you can cruise over there and check out all their different products. This pump also comes in the color black, as well as orange is what you see here. And at the time of this video, the kit will run you roughly about $90. And I think that's pretty reasonable for what you get and the type of performance that I've seen so far. And let's not forget, this is a small business with stuff made, built right here in America. And me personally, I love that. So hey, I hope to see you out there on two wheels, but not on the side of the road.